Hey Gremlins, welcome to a new video. Today we are going to talk about tarot cards, or deck if you will, and oracles, because they are extremely different from one another. And I'm gonna help you find which one is yours. So, what are tarot and oracles? Reading tarot is a form of cartomancy, meaning that by using the cards you will gain insight in your past, present, and future. The overall aim when using tarot, just like it is with oracles, is to gain insights and seek personal growth, spiritual guidance, and overall just well-being. You are going to use your cards to help you find your path and pick the right decisions. The structure of the tarot deck is simple, and it is going to be the same for almost every tarot deck you will ever use. You are going to have 78 cards within your deck. Moreover, traditionally in tarot deck, you are going to have two main groups of cards. The first group is going to be Major Arcana, and the second group is going to be Minor Arcana, which I'm going to show you right away. So what I'm showing you these cards with is a tarot deck that I am actually not using. It is a tarot deck that comes from my grandpa, and I just don't use it for personal reasons, but I like to keep it. So for instance, this is going to be a Minor Arcana. So every time you're going to use a tarot deck, your Minor Arcana is going to have a number on it. So either a number, either a figure, such as this one, which is going to be the Rider. I'm not sure how you say it in English, but that is what you're going to have on them. And when it comes to Major Arcana, let me find you one, you are going to have some figures that are representing the evolution of mankind. So for instance, this one, the Hermit, which is really close to the situation I'm living right now, since I'm living on an island, almost on my own. So these are going to show you different periods of your life and of anyone's life, to be honest. Within tarot, you will also find a card system where you are going to have 4 different groups within the Minor Arcana. So most of the time they are going to be easily discernible, as it is going to be, I don't know, for instance, you're going to have a group with earth, a group with water, a group with air, and a group with water. So you will always have Major and Minor Arcana, and within the Minor Arcana you will have 4 groups, which are going to speak about different aspects of your life, for instance, money, love, whatever. And because we have a similar structure, tarot cards and tarot decks in general will always have the same meaning, no matter what and how an artist is going to portray them through his tarot deck. For instance, when we talk about the Major Arcana, as they represent a certain period or stage of mankind and your life, well, it's always going to mean the same. For instance, the Hermit, it's always going to mean that you are taking some time to think and reevaluate things around yourself. It's also a period of isolation. And this will be the same across all tarot decks you will ever use. Therefore, even though tarot decks can be interpreted artistically differently, there is this traditional structure of a deck with 78 cards, and then the structure of the Major and Minor Arcana, and then the structure of the 4 groups within the Minor Arcana. And then the cards are always going to have the same meaning in general. So as a result, most tarot decks are going to have the same common theme and messages. Now, oracles. Oracles are extremely different, as they are a lot more free-flowing. Basically, you don't have a certain amount of card that is required. No 78 cards at all. You can have 1 card or 100,000. Doesn't matter. Also, the meaning of each card is really going to be independent to the deck you are going to use. Meaning that from one deck to the other, maybe you will have common meanings or common symbols if you are aiming for similar oracles. Or you can have totally different things depending on what you're looking for and what oracle you are going to buy. I also personally feel that tarot decks are always going to work the same way and give you the same type of information. The way I feel tarot is that they are going to be very precise and very truthful. They are not going to hide anything. They are just going to give you, okay, this is the situation, this is what you're looking for, now deal with it. Oracles are really different in the way that they tend to respond a lot to your emotions, to who you are, and to what you are seeking. Meaning that you always need, when you draw the cards, to keep a neutral intent, because you don't want to influence the cards, especially if you draw for yourself. This is hard to do, and many people are actually struggling with that when they start reading tarot. It's sometimes easier to do it for others when you don't know what's going on than for yourself, as you will have expectations that unconsciously most of the time you are going to try to meet. With tarot cards, this personal influence is going to be a little bit less strong. With oracles, they are so in tune with who you are and what you want that if you are actually thinking of, I want this outcome, you will get the outcome in the cards. So you need to be careful about that. I also feel that oracles, and I love them, are very great to target a specific purpose. Meaning that I have some decks that I use for this deck, for instance, my favorite deck, my first deck ever, is very much like me. Meaning I'm going to have something that I'm struggling with, and I'm going to be like, okay, I need some answers, and I'm going to do that type of reading. And these cards are always going to be very, very honest and very reflective on what I'm doing, who I am. So they are not going to be very gentle sometimes. So the messages are going to be very, it's there. They're a bit like the tarot in many ways. But then I have some other decks like this one, which is amazing because it is way more gentle, and sometimes when I need a little bit of a push but without the aggressive side, I'm going to use this one because it's going to make me feel better and be truthful at the same time. All of them are going to be honest with you, but just in different ways. So this one is really for healing for me. It's really going to help me, and I'm going to talk to you about my other tarot cards just after that, so that you can understand tarot and oracle, sorry, because I actually only have two tarot now. So the main difference between the two, oracles and tarot, is that tarot have this structure that is not gonna budge from one deck to another, whereas oracles are free-flowing artistically and in terms of structure and composition. The other difference is, as I told you, that the oracles are really gonna tune in with you. So if you are more intuitive and emotional, maybe oracles are gonna be a little bit easier at first than tarot cards, as we can be a little bit more. So, to pick which one is the best for you, it is extremely simple, to be honest. You can go, I would recommend going in a shop where you have a lot of choice and just let your instinct, intuition guide you. You don't have to look for what is going to make me understand everything. No, because every oracle and tarot is going to be fitted to you. So the first one I bought was this one, as I said, and I just went towards it, and I don't know, it's probably because I love animals, because I love the idea that humans are constantly changing and evolving, which is really the theme of that, and it was a perfect one for me, and that's still the main oracle that I use in a day-to-day basis. So go to your shop, close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out, and go around and let your intuition guide you. So that's really how you find an oracle or a tarot deck. I know that some of my friends often ask me, can you have both tarot and oracle? And the answer is yes, of course you can. But what I would recommend though is when you are going to start, walking in this world, you are going to think that so many oracles are pretty, so many tarot are amazing. I do have a lot of oracles and tarot because of that. Because when I started going around, I was thinking, I want so many things because I love art, I love the meaning, and I just love reading cards. But then I found out that there were many cards that I was not using. Not because I didn't want to, just because I didn't need to have so many. I also think that I've got some cards that I have, and decks, that I am not using a lot. They are really for specific purposes, which I'm really happy to have them for. But I am thinking that I don't need any more oracles and tarot right now. Before moving out from France to Vietnam, I actually didn't have room to keep all my cards, and anyone around me will tell you that my stones, my decks, my pendulums, runes, whatever I have in terms of magic or gift or whatever you will call it, is very, very important to me. And I had to actually look at myself and think, is that something I'm actually using? And if not, then I'd rather give it to someone that is going to use it and have some growth from it than keeping it. So I think I probably had 12, 13, 14, maybe 15 tarot decks and everything. Not everything about myself. I had a lot of these decks coming from my family, and I only kept 2 from my family. I actually may have 1 or 2 still in Vietnam because I couldn't get all my stuff. But I try to keep some of my grandparents because they meant a lot, but I don't want to use them for many reasons. And the ones that I decided not to keep, I purified, of course. That's something you got to keep in mind. When you've got a tarot deck, it's yours. You don't really share it. And if you do share it, every time someone else than me touch my cards, I purify them. Not against anyone else, it's just because it is so in tune with you that you don't really want to mix it around with other energies. So that's how I did it, and now I'm very happy that I have a reduced amount of cards that I do actually use and love. Now I was just thinking I would take you around and look at my different cards and decks and explain you how you feel and how you can understand what their purpose is. So the first thing you're gonna do is get your main deck, and I'm saying that I've been into reading cards and everything about esotericism since I'm 11, so I got all that since I'm 11 and I'm 19 today. So the first thing I got was this one, which is based on metamorphosis. You've got a lot of animal symbolism, it's literally the theme of it, and they are going to take you around and show you where your flows and your dark side. It's really working with your shadows, shadow work if you want. And it's gonna be very honest about you. The way I felt that at first was through the use I made of it, meaning that it would be a little bit rough sometimes when I was not feeling great. And as I grew with it, I understood that I can use it when I want something really precise and direct to me, but I'm gonna avoid it when I'm not feeling great. So you can understand what an oracle or tarot is when using it. Is main energy, or you can just sense it right away, but many people are struggling with that, so I would recommend just using them until you understand. Although I understand everyone cannot buy a ton of tarot and oracles because they are hella expensive. So maybe try to tune into the energies of these decks, and I will probably talk about that in another video, how to tune in with everything around you to get messages from it. Then I have this Belian Oracle. I'm sorry I don't show you the cards, it's just I can actually show you the cards. I keep my cards sometimes with white thing around them so that it keeps them protected from negative energies. This is the Belian Oracle, which is so known, and that's probably one I would recommend to you anyway, because there's not a single person I know that doesn't like it when they use it. And the drawings are pretty simplistic, so it's easy to understand. And I really love the back. I also had a very pretty version of it. I actually had an original, one of the really pretty one that are very big, literally the size of my palm, and with gold around them. But they came from my grandpa, and this is the one I bought when I started going around. And I decided to keep the one I bought myself and to give to someone else the ones from my grandpa, just because they cost a lot of money and the person I knew is actually literally working in that field, so I thought just give it to her and she will make a good use of it. Then the next oracle is gonna be the Shamanic Oracle, and this is a very, very, very special oracle. I use it very, very rarely because it feels so sacred to me for whatever reason. Whenever I'm gonna use them, this is gonna be literally there. There's not a single time where I made a wrong reading about it. It is so special and so truthful that it's actually scary sometimes. So I would recommend this if you feel close to the shamanic culture. And I mean close, not with your intellectual side, with your heart, with what you feel and how you resonate with the history. So, love this one. This one is, I love it. It's the Oracle of the Golden Path. I'm just translating because all of them are French. Beautiful. I'm gonna show you some of the cards. It is so beautiful. I love using this one when I need a little bit of enlightenment. Literally, to me, this is an oracle of light. So this is the back, and this is the cards. So I love it. It is very gentle, very realistic, and it's really gonna show you what you need to work on. But with so much light, it's really gonna help you feel better about you and about what you have to do in your life. I love it for that reason. Then the next oracle I have is the dragon one, which is this one that I showed you earlier. It is all about transformation again, because I think that's literally what I'm drawn to, transformation. And it is going to show you everything you need to change, everything you need to grow, with very, very gentle messages. It is really going to take you to this idea of dragons and how they did guide people in legends. And I love that because it makes you feel like there's something else in yourself. It puts you in a sort of magic atmosphere, and you feel small when you use this deck. And that feels good. That does really feel good. Then my next deck is going to be the Medicine Cards deck, which is another shaman-based deck, totem animals to be completely exact with you. And I love using this when I am lost in my life. Completely lost. This is always going to show me how to heal and how to think a bit more about what's around me. There are a lot of stories. With every card you're going to draw, you're going to have a traditional story behind the animal, which is great to make you reflect on yourself and your life. And then my two tarot decks. So all of these were oracles, and my two tarot decks are this one, which is completely destroyed when you look at it. It's not because I don't take care of it, because I do. It's because it belonged to my mom, so, and my uncle. So it's a very, very, very old one. Not to say my mom is old, just to say that they both did use it a lot, so, and I use it a lot too, so of course it looks a bit dead. But I love it. I would recommend it to, I wouldn't actually recommend it to everyone. It's a great one, but I find that it has some, I'd say, dark messages. It doesn't. It's just gonna tell you what you're asking for, but it can be brutal, and you have to be honest with yourself when you draw these cards. When I was struggling at a certain point, I was using them, and it did put me in the hole even more because I was not ready to get so much precise things and so many precise messages about what I wanted to know. And I remember getting a bit scared of this tarot for a bit, just because I didn't feel like I could handle it. But now I made peace with it and I feel better, especially knowing that it went from my mom and my uncle to me. Makes me feel better and special. I know I said you can't really use anyone else's tarot cards, but in my family we have been into esotericism for more than 4 generations, more than 5, more than 6, a long, long time. So we really have a sacred space around us, and we like to use sometimes what our ancestors used as tools. And the last one is gonna be this one, which belonged to my grandpa, and I kept it for many reasons. One, because I wanted to sell it at first, but it's a tarot that cost a fair amount of money. And because of that, I suddenly felt like I didn't want to sell it, just because I don't want my tarot to be sold because it's rare or prestigious or whatever. I don't like this idea of selling something that's sacred to me for a lot of money. Maybe it sounds dumb, but I don't want greed to be around this object. And when I started trying to sell it, 2 or 3 people came to me and were really dishonest. So I decided not to sell it and just to keep it, to kind of be the guardian of this, as I think someone gave it to my grandpa, and I think it was very, very important to him, and he passed last year, so that's for you, Grandpa. So these are all my deck. I probably have 1 or 2 more, as I told you, but I think they are in Vietnam, and it's gonna be the same story of this one. They belong to my grandpa, and I think I would like to keep them in the family, just because when I was making a choice to keep or sell or give them, I don't think I sold any of them, to be honest. I gave them all. I could feel that some of them had to stay with us for a little bit more in my family, and when I will meet the right people, then I will consider giving them, because I think that's the biggest lesson you can learn from this. Oracle and Tarot are your partners. They are not just objects you buy, they are going to take you along the way of your own spiritual journey. So you need to respect them and treat them accordingly to how you would want to be treated, meaning with love and care. So respect everything you own, especially when it comes to esotericism, because it will give you so much joy over time that you really want to be thankful. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you for another one. Bye.